Captain Jake Morrison looked out at the stars from his ship's bridge. The view was not peaceful anymore. Big alien ships floated in space around Earth like hungry wolves waiting for their next meal. These ships belonged to the Zephyrian Empire, and they had been there for 3 long years. The aliens inside those ships were tall and looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. They had sharp teeth and cold yellow eyes that showed no mercy. Jake remembered the day they first came. The Zephyrians had sent a message to Earth. They said humans must surrender or die. Earth's leaders had other plans. They would fight, but not the way anyone expected. Admiral Lisa Park had given orders to all human ships and bases. Use only basic weapons. Do not show what humans could really do. Keep the aliens thinking humans were weak and stupid. The war that followed was strange. Human ships used simple rockets and basic energy guns. They fought like people from hundreds of years ago might fight against modern armies. The Zephyrians laughed at human weapons. They had plasma cannons that could melt through thick metal walls. They had shields that stopped most human attacks. Their ships were fast and strong, yet humans kept fighting with their old-style weapons. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Bell sat at his desk on Luna Station, the big base on Earth's moon. He read messages that his team had stolen from Zephyrian ships. The aliens were getting angry and confused. They had expected humans to give up after a few months. Most planets in the galaxy surrendered quickly when the Zephyrian Empire attacked them. But humans kept fighting with their simple weapons and refused to quit. Ryan knew something. The Zephyrians did not know. Every human military base was following something called Protocol 7. Only 12 people in the whole solar system knew what Protocol 7 really meant. Ryan was one of those 12 people. He could not tell his friends or family about it. He could not even tell the other soldiers on his base. The secret was too important and too dangerous. Dr. Helen Carter worked in a special lab under the surface of Mars. She studied pieces of Zephyrian ships and weapons that human soldiers had captured during battles. What she found made her worried and excited at the same time. The alien technology was good, but it was not as advanced as the Zephyrians thought. Humans had actually built better weapons and ships years ago. But those weapons were locked away in secret places where no one could see them. Helen often wondered why Earth's leaders wanted to look weak. She understood that Protocol 7 was important, but seeing human soldiers die with simple weapons, while better ones sat unused, made her sad. She had asked Admiral Park about it once. The Admiral had looked at her with serious eyes and said that sometimes the best way to win a war was to let the enemy think they were already winning. The Zephyrians had conquered 17 star systems before coming to Earth. Each time they used the same plan. First, they would attack with a small force to test the planet's defenses. Then they would bring their main fleet and destroy everything that fought back. Finally, they would land armies on the planet and take control. The plan always worked, because most alien species in the galaxy were not very good at fighting wars. But humans were different. When the Zephyrians sent their test force to Earth, human ships fought back hard. They lost many battles, but they made the Zephyrians pay for every victory. The aliens had expected an easy win. Instead, they found themselves in a long, difficult war. Their generals back home were getting impatient. Emperor Krexvar, the ruler of the Zephyrian Empire, wanted the war to end quickly. Captain Jake Morrison had fought in 12 battles against Zephyrian ships. His ship, the Liberty, had been damaged many times. His crew had seen friends die in explosions and fires. But they never gave up. Jake knew that his simple weapons were not the best Earth could offer. Sometimes at night he dreamed about the real weapons hidden in Earth's secret bases. He imagined what would happen if humans stopped pretending to be weak. The worst part of the war was watching Zephyrian ships attack human colonies. The aliens would bomb cities and towns, killing thousands of people. They did this to scare humans into surrendering. But instead of giving up, humans became more angry and determined to fight. Every attack made them stronger, not weaker. Ryan Bell received reports from human spies on planets that the Zephyrians had conquered. The aliens were using those worlds to train new soldiers. They brought young Zephyrian warriors to fight against human prisoners and slaves. It was cruel and evil, but it also showed that the aliens had become careless. They thought humans could never threaten their empire. Dr. Helen Carter finished her latest report on Zephyrian technology. She had found something interesting. The aliens had one big weakness in their ship designs. Their power systems could be overloaded if hit in the right place with the right weapon. But the weapon needed to do this was not something humans were supposed to have. It required technology that was locked away under Protocol 7. Admiral Park read Helen's report in her office on Earth. She looked tired and worried. For 3 years, she had watched human soldiers fight and die with weapons she knew were not good enough. But her orders were clear. Do not reveal humanity's true strength. Let the galaxy think humans were weak and primitive. The plan would only work if everyone believed the lie, even Earth's own people. Jake Morrison's ship detected new Zephyrian vessels entering the solar system. More enemy ships meant more battles and more human deaths. But Jake also knew that every day the war continued, the Zephyrians became more confident and careless. They stopped being as careful about protecting their ships and bases. They made mistakes that a smart enemy could use against them. The galaxy was watching the war between humans and Zephyrians, but most alien species saw it as entertainment. They thought it was funny to watch primitive humans trying to fight an advanced empire. None of them realized that they were watching something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Humans were not the weak species everyone thought they were. They were something much more dangerous. They were a species that knew how to wait for the right moment to strike. News about the war between humans and Zephyrians spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every alien species heard about the small blue planet that refused to surrender to the mighty Zephyrian empire. Most of them thought it was funny. They gathered in bars and meeting halls to laugh about the stupid humans who thought they could fight with primitive weapons against advanced alien technology. The Kronan hegemony was the strongest military power in the galaxy. Their ships were bigger than cities and their weapons could destroy entire planets. General Vex Thor commanded the largest Kronan fleet. He had conquered more worlds than any other general in Kronan history. When he heard about the human war, he decided to go and watch. He wanted to see how long the humans would last before they all died or surrendered. General Vex Thor arrived in the solar system with 3 observer ships. He expected to see a quick battle where Zephyrian ships would destroy the last human defenses around Earth. Instead, he found something strange. The war had been going on for 3 years and humans were still fighting. Their ships were small and used old-style weapons, but they kept attacking Zephyrian forces every day. The general watched human ships attack a Zephyrian supply convoy. The human weapons barely scratched the alien shields, but the humans kept shooting anyway. When their ships were damaged, they would retreat and repair them, then come back to fight again the next day. It was not smart military thinking, but it showed incredible courage. General Vex Thor had never seen such determination from a species using such weak technology. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez represented Earth at the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime. Nexus Prime was a huge space station where representatives from 47 different alien species met to discuss important matters. The council chamber was enormous, with seats for thousands of delegates. Claire stood at the center, looking very small among all the tall aliens around her. Claire gave speeches asking for help. She told the aliens that humans were a peaceful species who only wanted to live in harmony with the galaxy. She said Earth's technology was limited, and they could not build weapons strong enough to fight the Zephyrians. She begged the council to send aid or at least put pressure on the Zephyrian Empire to stop the war. Most of the alien delegates listened politely, but Claire could see in their eyes that they did not take humans seriously. To them, humans were just another primitive species that would soon be conquered and forgotten. Some aliens even seemed bored by her speeches. They had heard similar pleas from hundreds of other species before. The Altarian Trade Consortium saw an opportunity to make money from the human war. The Altarians were small, gray aliens who cared more about profit than anything else. They had the best weapons dealers in the galaxy. Captain Zed Prime flew his trading ship to Earth's moon to meet with Admiral Park. Zed Prime offered to sell humans advanced plasma cannons, energy shields, and faster engines for their ships. The prices were very high, but he said humans could pay after the war ended. Admiral Park listened to his offer carefully. She asked many questions about the weapons and seemed very interested. Then she politely said no. She told Zed Prime that Earth's factories were too primitive to maintain such advanced equipment. Captain Zed Prime was confused. Most species would do anything to get better weapons when facing extinction. But Admiral Park seemed almost relieved that she could not buy his weapons. He left Earth thinking humans were either very proud or very stupid. He never suspected that humans might have reasons for wanting to appear weak and helpless. Colonel Danny Phillips coordinated with human resistance. Groups on planets the Zephyrians had conquered. These brave men and women lived in hiding and sent secret messages back to Earth. They reported on Zephyrian troop movements and military bases. The information they sent was always the same. Zephyrian soldiers were becoming lazy and careless. The resistance fighters said Zephyrian guards often fell asleep at their posts. They left weapons lying around without proper security. They talked loudly about secret military plans where anyone could hear them. The alien soldiers had stopped treating humans as a real threat. To them, humans were just annoying insects that would eventually be crushed. One resistance leader named Carl Johnson sent a particularly important message. He had discovered that the Zephyrians were using conquered human worlds as training grounds for new recruits. Young Zephyrian warriors came to practice fighting against human prisoners and slaves. The new soldiers were taught that humans were cowards who would run away if you shouted at them loudly enough. The Galactic Empire's Military Intelligence Division published their official assessment of the human war. The report was written by experts who had studied thousands of battles across the galaxy. They concluded that humans were brave, but technologically backward. The report said human defeat was inevitable within 6 months. Their weapons were too weak and their ships too slow to pose any real threat to modern military forces. This report was distributed to every major government and military organization in the galaxy. It became the standard reference document about human military capabilities. Alien generals used it to train their officers. Politicians quoted it in speeches. Historians planned to use it when writing about the extinct human species they expected to study soon. Ambassador Rodriguez attended private meetings with powerful alien leaders. She met with the Andromedian Council, the Silicon Lords of Kepler, and the Hive Queens of the Outer Rim. Each meeting was the same. The aliens expressed sympathy for humanity's situation, but none offered real help. They all believed humans would be conquered soon, and they did not want to anger the Zephyrian Empire by supporting a lost cause. Some aliens actually admired human courage. The warrior culture of the Spartan clans respected any species willing to fight against impossible odds. But even they thought humans were foolish for refusing to surrender. In Spartan tradition, there was honor in knowing when you were beaten and accepting defeat gracefully. The news networks that broadcast across the galaxy treated the human war as entertainment. They showed footage of battles and interviewed experts who explained why humans could not win. Some shows had betting pools where aliens could gamble on how long humans would last. The most popular bet was that Earth would surrender before the end of the year. Dr. Helen Carter received reports from other human scientists working in secret. They had analyzed captured Zephyrian technology and found it was not as advanced as the aliens claimed. The plasma weapons used principles that human scientists had understood for decades. The energy shields could be penetrated by weapons that Earth already possessed. But all the really advanced human technology remained hidden under Protocol 7. General Vexthor extended his observation mission. He was fascinated by human tactics. They used their primitive weapons in clever ways that sometimes succeeded against superior technology. Human pilots would ram their damaged ships into Zephyrian vessels, rather than retreat. Human soldiers would set up ambushes using nothing but explosive minds and determination. The galaxy watched and waited for the human war to end. Every species had an opinion about when and how humans would finally be defeated. None of them imagined that they were watching the opening act of something that would reshape the balance of power among the stars forever. The morning sky over New Shanghai Colony on Mars turned bright orange as Zephyrian plasma cannons rained down from space. Colony Administrator Ben Parker had just enough time to activate the emergency shelters before the first bombs hit the residential districts. The attack was different this time. The Zephyrians were not just targeting military bases or government buildings. They were deliberately killing civilians to send a message to Earth. The bombardment lasted for 6 hours. When it finally stopped, over 3,000 human men, women, and children were dead. The colony's hospitals overflowed with injured survivors. Many of the wounded were children who had been playing in parks when the attack began. The images of their burned and broken bodies were broadcast across the galaxy by news networks that treated human suffering as entertainment. Emperor Krexvar himself appeared on galactic communication channels to claim responsibility for the massacre. The tall reptilian leader stood in his golden throne room, surrounded by trophies taken from conquered worlds. His yellow eyes glowed with satisfaction as he spoke about the destruction of Mars' colony. He said it was a demonstration of what happened to species that refused to accept Zephyrian rule. The Emperor announced that similar attacks would continue until humans surrendered completely. He called the dead colonists an example for other primitive worlds, and promised that Earth itself would burn if humans did not submit within 30 days. The speech was watched by billions of beings across the galaxy. Most alien species saw it as proof that the human war was finally coming to its inevitable end. On Earth, President Patricia Kane watched the Mars colony footage in her secure bunker beneath Washington. She had seen many terrible things during her years in politics, but nothing had prepared her for the images of dead human children being pulled from the wreckage of their schools. Her hand shook as she signed the order to convene an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. The council meeting brought together the most powerful military and political leaders on Earth. Admiral Lisa Park sat at one end of the long table, her face showing the strain of 3 years of fighting with deliberately weakened forces. General Kevin Stone commanded Earth's ground armies and had been arguing for months that Protocol 7 was costing too many human lives. Dr. Nathan Cross, head of Earth's most secret research division, carried a briefcase that contained information, classified beyond top secret. The debate that followed was the most intense in human history. General Stone slammed his fist on the table and demanded permission to use Earth's real military capabilities. He said watching human soldiers die with inferior weapons while superior ones sat unused was not strategy. It was murder. Admiral Park argued that revealing humanity's true strength too early could lead to an alliance between all alien species against Earth. President Kane listened to both sides but found herself thinking about the children on Mars colony. She had visited that colony 2 years earlier and remembered meeting a little girl named Amy, who had given her a drawing of Earth and Mars connected by a rainbow. That same little girl was probably among the dead now, killed by aliens who thought humans were too primitive to matter. Dr. Cross opened his briefcase and activated a holographic projector. The images that appeared made everyone in the room fall silent. The hologram showed weapons tests that had been conducted in secret asteroid fields far from Earth. The weapons being tested looked like nothing any alien species had ever seen. They bent space and time, manipulated matter at the atomic level, and controlled forces that most civilizations did not even know existed. One test showed a single human ship destroying an entire asteroid belt, using something called a quantum cascade weapon. Another showed human vessels appearing and disappearing at will, using technology that made them invisible to all known sensors. The most frightening test showed a weapon that could make enemy ships simply cease to exist, removing them from reality itself without leaving any trace they had ever been there. President Kane asked how long Earth had possessed such weapons. Dr. Cross explained that human scientists had been developing this technology for over 30 years. The research had begun as theoretical physics experiments, but had evolved into weapons that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever imagined. The technology was so advanced that even most human scientists did not understand how it worked. Admiral Park revealed that Earth possessed a hidden fleet of over 2,000 ships equipped with this advanced technology. The ships were concealed in pocket dimensions and could be summoned instantly if needed. She also disclosed that the solar system was protected by a defense grid that could destroy any invasion force regardless of size. The grid had been installed 25 years earlier but had never been activated. General Stone asked why such powerful weapons had been kept secret for so long. President Kane explained that humanity's leaders had wanted to join the galactic community as equals, not as conquerors. They had hoped to reveal their technology gradually and peacefully, but the Zephyrian attack had forced their hand. The galaxy would learn about human capabilities whether Earth's leaders wanted them to or not. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent message from intelligence operatives monitoring Zephyrian communications. The aliens were planning their next attack, and the target was Earth's lunar colonies. Over 2 million humans lived and worked on the moon. Emperor Krexvar wanted to kill them all in a single massive assault that would be visible from Earth. He planned to broadcast the destruction live across the galaxy as the ultimate demonstration of Zephyrian power. The Zephyrian plan called for their entire fleet to attack the lunar colonies simultaneously. They would use every weapon they possessed to ensure complete destruction within minutes. No human would be allowed to escape. The Emperor wanted the people of Earth to watch their friends and family die while being helpless to prevent it. He believed this would finally break human resistance and force immediate surrender. President Kane looked around the table at the faces of Earth's leaders. These men and women had carried the burden of keeping humanity's greatest secrets for years. They had watched human soldiers fight and die with primitive weapons, while knowing that weapons capable of ending the war in minutes sat unused in hidden bases. They had endured the galaxy's mockery and contempt while possessing technology that would terrify every alien species if revealed. The decision came when Dr. Cross showed them one final piece of footage. It was a recording of children playing in the lunar colonies, laughing and running through gardens that had taken decades to build. These innocent young humans would be dead within days unless something changed. The Zephyrians had made their choice to target defenseless civilians. Now humanity would make theirs. President Kane's voice was steady and calm as she spoke the words that would change galactic history forever. She looked directly at Admiral Park and said, "Protocol 7 is hereby terminated. Show them what we really are." The Admiral smiled for the first time in 3 years and reached for her emergency communication device. Within minutes, secret bases across the solar system began receiving new orders. The galaxy had spent 3 years watching what they thought was a primitive species struggling against superior technology. They had laughed at human courage and mocked human determination. They had seen the war as proof that advanced civilizations would always defeat backward ones. Soon they would learn how wrong they had been about everything. Admiral Lisa Park stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface, her finger hovering over a control panel that had not been touched for 25 years. Around her, dozens of technicians worked at stations monitoring systems the galaxy did not know existed. The large display screens showed the positions of every Zephyrian ship in the solar system. The alien fleet was moving into attack formation around Earth's moon, exactly as intelligence reports had predicted. The first order Admiral Park gave was simple but crucial. All human military vessels were to retreat to minimum safe distance, immediately. Captain Jake Morrison received the command aboard his ship, the Liberty, and was confused by it. His crew had been preparing to defend the lunar colonies with their lives. Now they were being told to run away when civilians needed protection the most. The Zephyrian fleet commanders interpreted the human retreat as preparation for surrender. Admiral Krex 9, leading the attack force, sent a message to his emperor, reporting that human resistance had finally collapsed. The cowardly humans were abandoning their colonies rather than face the might of the Zephyrian Empire. Emperor Krexvar was pleased and ordered the attack to proceed immediately. Commander Bill Harrison worked at a control station on Luna Station, but not the Luna Station anyone knew about. This was the real Luna Station, hidden beneath the surface, facility that aliens had observed for years. His job was to activate something called the Sol Defense Grid. The grid consisted of what the galaxy believed were simple communication satellites orbiting throughout the solar system. In reality, they were weapon platforms more advanced than anything most species could imagine. Bill entered the activation codes he had memorized but hoped never to use. Across the solar system, 300 objects that had appeared to be harmless. Satellites began to change. They unfolded like mechanical flowers, revealing structures that dwarfed the largest Zephyrian battleships. Each platform was equipped with weapons based on principles that most alien civilizations had never discovered. The transformation was visible to every ship and sensor in the system. General Vex Thor of the Cronin hegemony was observing the battle. from his flagship when the satellites began changing. His sensor operators reported energy readings that broke their measuring instruments. The Cronin general had seen the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, but nothing had prepared him for what human technology was revealing itself to be. He immediately ordered his ships to retreat to a safer distance. The first demonstration of humanity's real power targeted the Zephyrian flagship, the massive vessel carrying Admiral Krex 9, a weapon platform that had been disguised as a weather satellite. Fired what appeared to be a simple energy beam. But this was no ordinary beam. It was made of coherent gravitational waves that could manipulate the fundamental structure of space and time. The beam struck the Zephyrian flagship, and something impossible happened. The enormous warship, larger than most space stations, was lifted completely out of normal space-time. For 3 seconds, the ship existed in a state between dimensions, visible but not really there. Then it reappeared as a cloud of scattered atoms spread across more than a light-year of space. Every living thing aboard had been killed instantly and painlessly, their matter simply converted to energy. Captain Morrison watched from the Liberty as space around Earth began to shimmer and bend. What had appeared to be empty space suddenly filled with human ships unlike anything he had ever seen. These vessels were sleek and organic-looking, as if they had been grown rather than built. They moved through space in ways that seemed to ignore the laws of physics, appearing and disappearing at will. Dr. Nathan Cross's voice echoed through every human vessel in the system as he announced the activation of weapons that should not have existed. Temporal displacement weapons came online, capable of moving enemy ships backward and forward through time. Quantum disruption fields activated, allowing human forces to attack targets in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Reality anchor systems engaged, preventing enemy vessels from escaping into hyperspace or other dimensions. The human fleet that emerged from concealment numbered over 2,000 ships, each one equipped with technology that treated the known laws of physics as suggestions rather than absolute rules. Some ships could phase in and out of solid matter. Others could create localized black holes or manipulate the flow of time around themselves. The most advanced vessels could apparently exist in several dimensions at once, making them nearly impossible to target or destroy. Admiral Krex 9 tried desperately to rally his forces but found that his remaining ships could not move. Localized time distortion fields had frozen the Zephyrian fleet in space, slowing their time flow to a crawl while allowing humans to move normally. Zephyrian weapons fired in slow motion, their energy blasts taking minutes to cross distances that should have been covered in seconds. The technology humans revealed went beyond advanced weapons and ships. They demonstrated an understanding of the universe that made even the most sophisticated alien science look primitive. Human vessels manipulated matter at the quantum level, created energy from nothing, and bent the rules that governed reality itself. It became clear that humanity had not just been hiding better weapons, but had achieved a completely different relationship with the fundamental forces of existence. Dr. Helen Carter emerged from her secret laboratory on Mars to witness the display of human power. For 3 years, she had studied Zephyrian technology while knowing that human science had surpassed it decades earlier. Now she watched as human ships demonstrated capabilities that would rewrite every physics textbook in the galaxy. The aliens had thought they were fighting a primitive species, when in fact they had been fighting gods. Emperor Krex Var received reports from the battle and refused to believe them. His intelligence officers told him that human ships were manipulating space and time, that human weapons could remove matter from existence, and that the entire human defense had been a deliberate deception lasting 3 years. The Emperor accused his own officers of cowardice and lies. No primitive species could possess such power. But the evidence was undeniable. Surveillance recordings from multiple sources showed human technology in action. The weapons platforms, hidden as satellites, were reshaping the structure of local space. Human ships were moving through dimensions that Zephyrian science could not even detect. Most terrifying of all, the humans were demonstrating perfect control over their incredible power, using only enough force to neutralize threats without causing unnecessary destruction. Commander Bill Harrison completed the activation sequence for the Sol defense grid and leaned back in his chair. For 25 years, he had trained for this moment, while hoping it would never come. The galaxy had forced humanity's hand by threatening innocent civilians, and now they would learn what kind of species they had been fighting. Humanity had chosen to appear weak, not because they lacked strength, but because they possessed more power than any other known civilization. Captain Morrison realized that everything he thought he knew about the war had been wrong. Human forces had not been struggling against superior alien technology. They had been carefully maintaining the illusion of inferiority while possessing weapons that could reshape reality itself. The 3 years of apparent human desperation had been a performance designed to lull the galaxy into complacency. The revelation that would shake every alien civilization was becoming clear. Humans had not joined the galactic community as primitive, newcomers seeking guidance from advanced species. They had arrived as the most technologically sophisticated civilization in known space, choosing to hide their capabilities out of a desire for peaceful coexistence. That choice had been a gift to the galaxy, and the galaxy had repaid it with contempt and aggression. The news of humanity's true capabilities reached every corner of the galaxy within hours of the Sol Defense Grid activation. Emergency council sessions were called on dozens of worlds as alien leaders struggled to understand what they had just witnessed. The primitive species that had been the subject of jokes and betting pools across the galaxy had revealed itself to be more technologically advanced than any known civilization. General Vexthor sat in his private quarters aboard his flagship, staring at sensor recordings that his mind could barely process. The Kronan hegemony had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years because they possessed the most advanced military technology known to exist. Their quantum torpedoes could destroy planets, their dimensional shields could deflect any known weapon, and their star-killer ships could eliminate entire solar systems. Yet the humans had casually demonstrated technology that made Kronan science look like stone tools. The general's report to the Kronan High Command would be classified at the highest security level. He wrote that humans had been deliberately concealing technology that appeared to violate the fundamental laws of physics as understood by galactic science. Their weapons could manipulate space-time, their ships could exist in multiple dimensions, and their defenses could alter reality itself. Most disturbing of all, they had maintained this deception for years while allowing their own people to die with primitive weapons. The Altarian Trade Consortium's stock markets crashed within minutes of receiving the first reports from the Solo system. Captain Zed Prime, who had tried to sell weapons to Admiral Park, realized he had been offering primitive tools to a civilization that had already mastered forces beyond his comprehension. The entire foundation of the galactic economy was based on the assumption that technology advanced gradually and predictably. Humanity's revelation shattered that assumption completely. Alien economists calculated that human technology was not just decades ahead of galactic standards, but represented an entirely different approach to understanding the universe. If humans chose to share their knowledge, it would revolutionize every aspect of galactic civilization. If they chose to keep it secret, they could dominate the galaxy without effort. The economic implications were so vast that several smaller alien governments declared bankruptcy rather than try to adapt. Ambassador Claire Rodriguez appeared before the Galactic Council for what everyone knew would be a very different kind of meeting. The council chamber that had once been filled with condescending aliens now hosted delegates who sat in stunned silence. Some species had sent their highest-ranking leaders instead of regular ambassadors. Others had brought military, commanders, and scientists to try to understand what humanity represented. Claire's speech was brief and carefully chosen. She explained that humanity had hidden its true capabilities because it wanted to join the galactic community as friends and equals, not as conquerors or overlords. Earth's leaders had hoped that other species would welcome humans based on shared values and mutual respect rather than fear of superior technology. The Zephyrian attack had forced them to reveal capabilities they had preferred to keep secret. The reaction from the galactic community was immediate and terrifying. Some species demanded that humans share their technology freely with all civilizations. Others insisted that human capabilities were too dangerous and should be restricted by galactic law. A few alien governments began preparing their military forces for what they assumed would be humanity's inevitable conquest of the galaxy. Emperor Krexvar of the Zephyrian Empire appeared on emergency broadcasts across his territory, but not to boast about victories. Instead, he announced the immediate and unconditional surrender of all Zephyrian forces. His message was desperate and pleading. He begged the humans for mercy and promised that the Zephyrian Empire would never again threaten Earth or any human colony. The proud emperor who had bragged about destroying human civilians now looked like a frightened child. The surviving Zephyrian ships in the Sol system were given permission to leave, but not before their crews were exposed to a demonstration of human technology that would ensure future compliance. Human vessels use something called neural adjustment fields to implant absolute loyalty to peace treaties directly into the aliens' brains. The modified Zephyrians would be physically incapable of planning or participating in attacks against humans. Dr. Helen Carter published her complete analysis of alien technology, revealing that humanity had been studying galactic civilizations for over 50 years. Earth's supposedly primitive probe program had actually been mapping the weaknesses and capabilities of every major species while maintaining the illusion of technological inferiority. Humans knew more about alien biology, psychology, and technology than most species knew about themselves. The revelation that shook the galaxy most deeply came from President Patricia Kane's final address to the Galactic Council. She revealed that Protocol 7 had never been about military deception alone. It had been part of a comprehensive plan to evaluate galactic civilization and determine whether humanity should integrate peacefully or maintain isolation. The test had been whether other species would treat humans with respect despite believing them to be technologically inferior. The galaxy had failed that test catastrophically. Instead of offering friendship to what appeared to be a struggling species, most aliens had treated humans as entertainment or potential slaves. The Zephyrian attack had simply been the final proof that galactic civilization was not ready for peaceful coexistence with truly advanced technology. Humanity would now need to decide how to proceed with that knowledge. Captain Jake Morrison stood on Earth's surface for the first time in 4 years, watching streams of alien diplomatic vessels arriving for emergency negotiations. The ships came from species that had previously ignored human requests for help, or had actively supported the Zephyrian conquest. Now they desperately wanted to establish friendly relations with the terrifying humans who could manipulate reality itself. The most significant change was in how alien species viewed their own place in the galaxy. Civilizations that had considered themselves advanced now realized they were barely above primitive levels compared to human capabilities. The technological gap was so enormous that most alien scientists could not even understand the basic principles behind human technology. It was like trying to explain computers to people who had not yet discovered fire. Some alien civilizations reacted to the revelation with panic and desperation. The Silicon Lords of Kepler began a crash program to develop weapons capable of threatening human ships. The Hive Queens of the Outer Rim started building massive defensive installations around their worlds. The Andromedan Council voted to seal their borders and avoid all contact with humanity until they could assess the threat level. But other species chose a different path. The warrior culture of the Spartan clans sent formal messages of respect and admiration for humanity's strength and restraint. Several smaller civilizations requested permission to study under human teachers, hoping to learn from a species that had achieved such technological mastery while maintaining moral principles. Dr. Nathan Cross was tasked with leading a team to decide how much human technology could safely be shared with galactic civilization. The decisions they made would determine whether the galaxy evolved into a peaceful community of advanced species or descended into chaos as different civilizations struggled to obtain or defend against human capabilities. The final assessment from the Galactic Empire's intelligence services would remain classified for generations, but its conclusions were simple and terrifying. Humanity represented an unknown level of technological development that could not be measured by any existing standards. Their restraint in using such power was the only thing preventing the complete restructuring of galactic civilization. The recommendation was absolute: avoid conflict with humans at all costs. Captain Morrison walked through the gardens of New Geneva, Earth's diplomatic center, and thought about the children who had died on Mars' colony. Their deaths had ended, Humanity's experiment in peaceful integration enforced the revelation that would reshape the balance of power among the stars. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology, but their wisdom in choosing when and how to use it. The age of human secrecy was over, but the age of human responsibility had just begun.